Hello, everyone. This is Jasmine with a Notch Higher Living YouTube channel where spaces and environments are created so that healthy relationships can be learned, developed, practiced so that they can ultimately thrive. My light is actually funny, but we're still going to get through this. I am excited. I have a beautiful guest with me today. Her name is Clair Detrick-Jules, and she's right here. Yay!
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, for anyone who does not know who St. Clair is, I have to introduce you how I came across St. Clair. I came across her. It's going to be, as you all know, I love books. This is her book, My Beautiful Black Hair. So she's an author of this book, and I came across her in the library, her book in the library. So what happened was I was looking for a book. I pulled this book out and I said, oh, I'm going to check this out. I went through it and I reached out to St. Clair. And I want to let you know a little bit more about her before I get her on the docket and sharing about herself. I did say docket, everybody, so that's all. St. Clair is a filmmaker. She's a photographer, an author, and an activist. She captures personal stories and intimate moments centering around immigrant justice, women's rights, and Black liberation. She's Afro-Caribbean, and she's an artist, and she's rooted in her community. And her work is grounded in radical love, joy, and the knowledge that a more just world is possible. And as beautiful as that sounds, this is the beautiful person that's here. So welcome, 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 St. Clair.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today. It's really an honor to be here.
Same. I am so honored and I'm excited to talk with you. So again, this is your book, My Beautiful Black Hair. I really want to just start this off. What inspired, what birthed this book? This book is beautiful, by the way, but what inspired this beautiful book?
So I always start by talking about the story of my little sister Khloe, and I want to show everyone a picture. So this is Khloe.
Hi,
She's 9 years old. But when she was just 4 years old, she came home from school one day crying because her majority white classmates had been bullying her about her afro. They told her negative comments about her hair. They told her that her hair was ugly. And so she came home from school really upset. And she didn't want to go back to school anymore because she was so ashamed of her curls. And that was really heartbreaking for me. I'm really far away from my sister. I live in the States. My sister lives in France, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so she really doesn't see people who look like her in Southern France. She doesn't see people who look like her in her school, in her neighborhood, in her, greater community there.
Right.
And so I wanted to do something to show Khloe, hey, all of your little white classmates are wrong. Your hair is actually beautiful.
Yes.
And there's this whole community of Black women and girls who look just like you, even if you don't see them in your everyday life.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And in that, you said you related to the story as well. So what has been your experience and why did you want to change that narrative for your sister?
Yeah, I also went to a majority white elementary school here in DC.
Okay.
And when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten class was, mostly Black and brown. And I remember asking my mom for braids and Afrocentric hairstyles, that kind of thing. But once I started first grade, all of a sudden I only had white classmates because I changed schools. And I became so self-conscious of my hair. And even though I have a much looser curl pattern than my sister, it still looked very different from all of my little white classmates who had long, straight, often blonde hair.
Makes sense.
And I was at that school for 6 years and I wasn't bullied the way that my sister is bullied. So I'm really lucky. But even without people explicitly saying negative things about my hair, I still internalized this idea that straight hair was better. And I just wanted to look like all of my classmates. I didn't want to be different in that way. And so that was a long time that I spent, waking up every morning, looking in the mirror and wishing that my hair wasn't curly, that it was just straight.
Right.
And that's hard. And so when I was in middle school and high school, then I was in school again with majority Black and brown students, and most of my Black girlfriends, through those years also either straightened their hair all the time,
Mhm.
or, got relaxers, or, um, extensions or whatever. But basically or they were also distancing themselves from their natural Black hair. And I didn't want my sister to go through all of those years of self-hatred the way that I would say most of my friends and I did.
Yes,
I wanted
I
her to just
agree.
sort of immediately fall into self-love, from a young
Yes.
age.
That's beautiful because you said a couple of things. We internalize that in a way that we distance ourselves from who we are.
Mhm.
Whether someone is saying it explicitly, but like you said, implicitly, you internalize that. And if you're not having that conversation with anyone else, then that becomes your narrative for yourself. And to say, I want to be somebody or something else, or what I have or who I am is not good enough. So I'm
Exactly.
glad you pull the layers off for yourself, or like you were able to start going that route for yourself and for your sister. That's beautiful. You said something in your introduction, and it reminded me of even when you were saying, I'm going to bring it back up. You said it's just not about hair, it's about how we choose to live our lives. If we take the words of wisdom these women are offering Khloe into our lives, then we feel and become indestructible. That's a beautiful way of what you just said right there. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. I love how you did this for your sister. And when I was reading the book, like I was sharing with you before we came on, I sat and I felt like I was being loved on or healed myself with the stories, reading the stories. So, how has your sister incorporated it, or how has she embraced this? What has been the effect for your sister?
It's it's been really positive, and I'm so grateful. So the book is 101 photos and stories of different Black women with natural hair, and so I interviewed and photographed Black women with all different hair textures, hair lengths, hairstyles, um,
Yes.
hair colors, because I really
Hmm.
wanted to give my sister examples of what beauty looks like, right? Because even within the natural hair community, there's not just one way to be beautiful. And so I wanted to show
Exactly.
that to my sister Khloe, and also to, the larger community of Black women and girls. Um, and so I showed my sister, I showed her bits and pieces of the book as I was working on it.
Hmm.
And last summer, about a year ago, I saw her in person, because again, we live in different countries, but I saw her in person, and
Okay. Right.
I gave her a copy of this book, and we flipped through it together.
Beautiful.
And every single page, every single time we flipped a page and there was a new woman, my sister said, "Oh, elle est très jolie," which is, "Oh, she's so beautiful." And
Oh,
that made me so happy, because I always remember this time a few years ago when we were at the shopping mall, and there was actually this big poster of a Black woman with an afro. And my sister said, "Oh, she's ugly." And I knew that that was a reflection of how my sister saw
yes.
herself. And so
Yes.
now to have her
Yes.
see photos of Black women with afros, and for her to say that's beautiful, that's also a reflection of herself. And so,
That is so beautiful.
oh,
Oh
thank
my
you.
gosh. Oh my gosh. I know you feel so great. That's a beautiful feeling. Oh my, that's the work that is worth doing, and then for you to be able to see the fruits of your labor, that's beautiful.
Thank
Keep
you.
moving forward, man. Keep moving forward. That's
Thank
beautiful. I
you.
love it. So you touched on this, and I saw in your okay, so you have a forward, but before we get to the forward, there is Dr. Afia. I'm not
Mhm.
able to pronounce her last name, but it's Dr. Afia M.
And Billy
That's what,
Shaka. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much for honoring her name. So she's a clinical psychologist, a natural hairstylist, and she's the author of Psychotherapy. Therapy. I had never heard of that before reading this book. I've looked her up, I've reached out to her because I was just like, oh my gosh, it's a totally new world
Mhm.
for me. So she enters the mental health space through our hair. So I was just like, this is profound. But I wanted to know, and I wanted you to share why you felt it was a necessary need to incorporate her because her combination of psycho or mental health and hair, it's so beautiful. But I really wanted to hear from you why you incorporated this element in the book.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Afia is amazing. She's also a hairstylist as
Mhm.
well, which is really cool. And so I feel like she comes at it from many different angles. I think that I've seen with my sister and I've experienced it myself how much our hair can impact our mental health. And this is something that a lot of people in the book talked about also before I even had heard of, or before I even talked to Dr. Afia. Some of the women talked about how, depending on how their hair looked that day, it would affect their mood and what they felt
Yes.
like they could or could not do that day. Like, oh, if my hair's not done, I can't hang out with my friends today. Or I'm just feeling down
Facts.
in general if my hair's not
Yes.
done.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's such a big deal. And I think that people of other races might not necessarily understand that, and might brush it off as something that's superficial or surface level. And so I love Dr. Afia's work, and she's the one who coined the term psychotherapy because she really delves into the research aspect and shows us how mental health and hair are related. And then in her practice, she often works with, Black women and uses hair as an entry point to talk about mental health because our hair really does impact so many different aspects of our lives, whether it's relationships, family dynamics, work environments,
Yes.
school. It seems like everything is impacted, or yeah, everything is impacted by our hair. And then of course, Dr. Afia also brings in sort of like a history component, the history of Black hair. So it's not just in this context of
Yes.
whiteness, but also how our hair was used by our ancestors, for example,
Mhm.
to show certain identity markers. Whether our ancestors were married, if they had kids, if they were in mourning, what tribe they were from, all of that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think she
Yeah.
just incorporates so much. And I'm so honored that she was open to writing a little introduction, a little piece at the
Yes.
beginning for my book.
I agree because I believe you both elevated the narrative in talking about our hair and mental health. Because like you said, even when I sat and I listened to or I looked at what she had written, and even as I'm listening to you, these aren't conversations that we've had, out loud. So it's just like elevating the language and elevating the conversation so that we can now see our place. Because I know there are times I wouldn't go out. And there were times I remember sitting at work thinking, like, okay, how am I going to do my hair in between the time I get my hair done and like not wanting to have my hair being seen. So it's like, okay, point A to point B, how do I not have anyone see my hair? And I never said it out loud to anyone, but that was the thought process like, okay, do this as quickly as possible so I don't have to see my hair. But again, to your point, until we have those conversations out loud, we're just implicitly and internally in our world of separation, like separating ourselves from who we really are, who we truly are. So Dr. Afia, she brought something to the table that in this book, you brought something like this is one of the books I think everyone should have on their coffee table or somewhere in their lives. If you're African American, Black American, or if you're a Black or Brown person and otherwise, like everyone else, because having the conversation, I think it is bringing something to the forefront of identity and the love of an identity that has not been loved over historically period of time. So thank you for bringing her into this work because um, it elevated the conversation and the narrative and is bringing in the love that we need for ourselves. So you do good work, ma'am.
Thank you.
You
Thank
do
you
good
so
work.
much. I feel like everything is a collaboration.
Oh, yes, yes, a beautiful collaboration. So the forward of your book was written by Alexandra or Alex L.
Mm.
And I looked her up too. And when it's, give me 1 second, because she is on a mission to empower women to love themselves.
Mhm.
And again, you were intentional on putting the people in this book. One, the people that you interview, but just for me, the forward, and then even Dr. Afia. Why did you want Alex's voice to be heard in your work? I wanted to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a larger discussion that I had with my publisher in terms of who did we think could best represent, um, yeah, sort of what this book is about and
Mhm.
what it wants to capture. And I mean, I've been following Alex L on Instagram. She's a huge Instagram platform for
Yes.
years, and I love how she approaches healing and self love. She has all of these daily reminders and gentle reminders and daily affirmations, and everything that she puts out there, I think, is done with the intention of love. And
Mm,
that's really, I think, what this book
yes.
is about. It's love for ourselves as Black women, love for each other as Black women,
Yes.
love for our hair.
Yes.
Um, and so I really love that Alex L, I think, captures that in everything she puts out into the world, and everything is working towards healing, really, and
Yeah.
how we can build
Yeah.
better relationships with ourselves and
Mm,
with others. And so I think she's such a grounding presence also. I think she's just a
okay.
very grounded person. And I think when it comes to Black women and hair, it can be difficult to love our hair because society is telling us otherwise. And so you have
Yes.
to, in a way, really remain grounded and know who you are in
That's
order
true.
to say, I'm gonna just ignore all of these voices, block them out, anything
Right.
that's not for my highest good, right? And I'm just
Right.
going to focus on myself and remain centered and grounded. And so I think Alex L really added to that. So I'm grateful that she said yes.
Right, right. Literally, it's like I feel like you introduced me to others that I haven't been on social media a long time. I got back on I think last year. So honestly, I don't know a lot of social media influencers unless there's some other way that outside of social media outlets.
Yeah.
So I believe like you introduced me, and you're introducing your readers to other people who have the alignment of the love that you're talking about. So once you I literally I read from front to back. So it was, how some books you're like, okay, let's just flip all the way through and like, oh, let's get to this part of the book. No, I read the forward, I read the introduction, I read like, oh, what part is this? So I feel that in the groundiness or the groundedness that you picked up from Alex L, that's what this book felt like as I read and went through it. And that's why I wanted to ask why you incorporate or how this came to be. And I love that you said it's a collaboration, because one thing I realize is that sometimes we're not well versed, or we don't know how to collaborate because we're so distant from ourselves. But I feel like this book was or is an example of that. As I again read through the stories of all the young women, 101 women that you interviewed or that were interviewed, like it was amazing. One, you sectioned off the book in
Mhm.
different themes. I wanted to know how you came up with the themes and why did you think each theme was important. I'll read three of them. The first three are the big chop slash going natural. The second one is embracing blackness. And then the third is hair as an identity. I'm not going to read them all because I want people to pick up the book themselves in all platforms where books can be sold. So why did you select the things that you did, and why did you feel like they were important for this work?
Yeah, I didn't go into this book with the intention of creating different chapters. I
Okay.
actually didn't know that it was going to be a book this big at all. I thought originally my plan was just to have interview a few women,
Okay.
and put it together in something really small just for my sister.
Wow.
Um, and then as I continue my interviews and my photographs. I had just graduated college, and so I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. But I was like, you know what? I really like what I'm doing right now. I love hearing these stories and taking these photos. And so I decided that I wanted to make it into something bigger. Got to 101 women. And I would say when I was maybe about 3/4 of the way done, I realized, okay, I want some way to sort of make it more digestible, because right now it's just a ton of different stories, and
Mm.
I want to categorize them in some way. And obviously there's a lot of overlap, but so I just looked at the themes that people were
Okay.
talking about over and over again, because obviously I have my own experience, but
Yes.
once I had this huge pool of women, I was like, oh, okay, these things are coming up again and again and again, like the big
Mm.
chops. So many women
Hmm.
shared about their big chop stories.
Yeah.
So like that's the first section, right? The big
Right.
chop,
Right.
so natural. Um, and yeah, so I sort of just went through everything that I had, and based on that, I decided, this is what I'm seeing again and again. So this is how I want to separate the book.
Wow. And it's funny you said separate the book, but like you said, the themes were there when you went through them. But even in each section, as I read through them, listening to the similar theme, but a different story, it was just all like embracing everyone's story and everyone having their own specific story from a different perspective and then their personal perspective. I'm going to bring up the woman of the hour, Khloe. Here you are. It was just like, wow, one young lady, one little girl who we truly all are. I kept going back to Khloe, like, wow, what if we all had this opportunity from a big sister or someone else to say, like, oh no, I'm going to put this work together so that the voices, like you said, that are telling you that you're ugly or your hair is ugly or you're not acceptable, that you are accepted and you are acceptable. It would the themes literally like the collaboration and the intentionality of it. It really, I believe that every brown and black any person who wants to receive love, they definitely need to do this. But I will mention, like, I understand as black and brown women, we do have a different experience and we should experience this for ourselves. So I really believe that you giving your sister a love letter and a love note for herself of self-love, you gave one to the world. Like literally you gave one to the world. So the way that the themes are separated but still collaborative and unique to our experience, bar none. Like this is hands down something that I believe women really want to know or would have wanted to know, and you've given us the opportunity. So thank you again. I'm gonna just keep
Thank
saying
you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
I mean, I just feel so grateful that so many women were willing to take part, because I didn't even know a lot of the women before I
Wow.
interviewed them. But the fact that they were willing to do this for Khloe,
Yes.
just reminded me of how powerful Black sisterhood is.
Most definitely. Now, how did you end up landing on 101? Was it just like, oh, we have 101 now, let's stop? How did that happen?
I mean, originally I thought it was going to be this teeny book for Khloe, and then I decided, I want to do more. So my next goal was 50. I feel like that's a solid number. And
Nice
then I got to
round.
50, and I was like, I don't want to stop. I feel like there's more perspectives that I haven't heard yet.
Okay.
And so I decided, okay, 100. And then I got to 100. And then last minute, someone was like, oh, can I be in the book too? So that's
Okay.
how I got to 101.
Bonus. Put it over.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Because it's funny because I said 100 to someone and I was like, wait, it's 101. So wait, somebody got in. I love it because as I was reading, there were a few people who were grateful that they were able to do this work and they have never met your sister, but you have in here people writing letters to Khloe. And I thought that was so beautiful because when you talk about Black sisterhood, I was just like, wow, they came up to the plate or came to the plate and stepped up because they wanted her to know, hey, know who you are and who you are all about and what you stand for and how you look is beautiful. That in of itself. I don't think everyone, I will be honest, I don't think everyone has that experience. So it seems so foreign, but it is out there. And I think that's what you captured here.
Thank you.
Yes, you are welcome. Thank you. So, okay, I'm rounding the corner with this. So, the channel, and I'm going to let everyone know, I met St. Clair by messaging her after reading her book and thanking her. She came on, I believe, the same way that people came to you if you didn't know them. You gave me that same gift. So I wanted to say that out loud because I was just like, I have a small YouTube channel and you were willing to do this. So I just wanted to let you know, again, the space and the environment is created so healthy relationship skills can be learned, developed, and practiced so that they can ultimately thrive. So my beautiful Black hair, let me flip that around, my beautiful Black hair, how do you think people can relate that to having that healthy relationship with themselves? How do you think that book, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think you read something that I had written earlier about how if we take the words that these women have said and apply them to our own lives, and we can
Yes.
become indestructible. I think that there's so much strength required to embrace our hair, and there's a lot in it. And I think one thing that came up for me as I was working on this book that I hadn't necessarily realized before was how our hair can tie us to our ancestors. And so I think for a lot of us who are African American or Afro-Caribbean, like my dad's family, for example, it's easy to feel disconnected from our ancestors back in Africa.
Wow.
And
that's true.
I think that's sort of, it makes it hard, at least for me. I've been thinking about how it makes it hard to feel grounded in something because there was that severing of us from our ancestors and their language, their culture, their religion, all of that.
Yes.
The land. And so I think that, having this connection has been really, just really beautiful. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think that hopefully that can be applied to anybody from anywhere. We can always embrace where we're from and how we look, regardless of where that is. We can always root ourselves in our past. And then in terms of loving ourselves, I mean, one woman I remember, she was talking about how she came to love her hair. And she said that learning to love her hair and learning to love her weight sort of came at the same time for her. Because self-love isn't just, right, you can't just say, I love this one piece of me, but I don't like this other piece of me.
So true. Yes.
Yeah. We have to work to love all of ourselves.
Yes.
So it's a process, but it's all connected. And again, I think when we're grounded in ourselves and who we are, that self-love flows to us, whether it's our hair, our bodies, our skin color, whatever it is. It's really a package deal.
Well said. I agree. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So let's end this with finding out what are some other things, or is there anything else that you have going on? Because again, I'm going to put your information in if you can put your book up too, because we found out that I can see yours the right way. You can see mine. Okay. My beautiful Black hair. So I'll put your information in the description box. So is there anything else that we can support you as you are doing your work in the self-love and loving yourself movement for our hair and otherwise?
Thank you so much. I actually have forthcoming a kids board book that's going to come out in fall 2023 called My Hair is Like the Sun.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. And it's all about how our hair is similar to things in nature. And it's focused on kids, so a younger age range. So that's going to come out soon, next fall.
Okay. Sooner than we're halfway through 2022, so it's almost
exactly.
Yes, it'll be here before you know it. Okay.
Yeah, yes, I'm really excited about that. And then also one thing that I've been doing recently that I've really enjoyed is I've been going around and talking to students
Okay.
as young as, 4 or 5 years old to the college level, talking to them about self-love and sort of like what we were just saying, right? Like using Black hair as an entry point to talk about self-love and what that means for us, regardless of race or ethnicity or background or gender. Um, and so that's something that I've been enjoying. So if anyone works with kids
Yes.
and wants to talk about self-love, I would be more than happy to join you all for that
In
also.
universities and high schools, you're going all over. So yes, we need to go on tour with you. So my beautiful black hair, we will keep following you if you go on tour. And then what's the second book you said? My hair is like I
My
want
hair is like the sun.
my hair is like the sun. So we'll keep posted and keep out everyone check St. Clair out so you can keep posted when that book comes out too. So we can support you in that work as well. So yes,
Thank
this is
you.
this is very phenomenal work that you're doing. And I think what you said about connecting us with our ancestors, I believe that's a really powerful point that you made because so many times we've been disconnected. So if we don't have that rooted establishment in who we are, we kind of feel lost. So for you to
Yeah.
bring this to the forefront, I think that I am embracing that that's how we are honoring our ancestors because they didn't have a voice and they didn't have an opportunity. So we're limited in an era that we can do it now. And then that's how we can honor what they could not do. And then that's how we can move forward and continue our legacy and we can speak how they could not speak and speak and heal where they could not as well. So thank you again for being so willing to do this interview and actually for again doing this for your sister and really sharing this with the world as you shared with your sister because now other women, other young girls, other people can now heal because you put your voice out there and you were an ally to your sister and an advocate for your sister and for brown and black people all over. So is there anything else that you would like to say before we end this beautiful interview?
I just wanted to thank you again for having me on here and thank you for reaching out to me. And as you said, you reached out to me the same way I reached out to a lot of a lot of Black women for my book. And I just again think that's a beautiful reminder of Black sisterhood and how we really are connected across
Yes.
the diaspora.
Wow.
So I'm just grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you.
Same here, ma'am. So thank you again so much as well. You are welcome and thank you. So that's all I'm going to share today. I do appreciate everyone listening and taking the time out to support St. Clair. I will be supporting her moving forward too. And remember, my beautiful black hair. Yay! So until next time, everybody, have a great one. Thank you. Bye bye.